So as good as this movie was, I still think it's an argument against why we should be effing around with artificial intelligence. Terminator did it first, and Free Guy just continues it, albeit with a little less end of the world kind of stuff. At least our world. Free Guy is the brand new Ryan Reynolds movie that, again, was delayed immensely due to the COVID-19 pandemic. I am Matt with Van Life Plus Movies, here to talk about it, and this time I am joined with Chris.
From Van Life Plus Cannabis, also known as Vannabis.
Check him out. I'll throw a link in the description to his channel below, and we're going to just hash this movie out together. This is one of those big summer blockbuster movies that I feel like everybody online is going to be talking about, so I didn't want to just do it by myself. I thought it'd be fun for us to go see the movie together and then maybe just talk about our experiences. Free Guy, like I said, is the brand new Ryan Reynolds movie in which he plays an NPC in a vastly popular computer game. Of course, he doesn't know it, and he just slowly starts to get exposed to what his world really is. Ultimately, the best way to think about it without spoiling too much, because I don't like to do that in my reviews anymore, as I've done that plenty in the past, is this was a great mix of science fiction, comedy, and it had very strong influences of both The Truman Show and Groundhog Day, which there has been numerous time loop movies come out recently. And that was what was really cool about this movie. I love both The Truman Show and Groundhog Day, and to see Ryan Reynolds do it in this way was insanely entertaining.
Definitely. I mean, it had everything you would want in a funny movie. It had everything you would want in a Ryan Reynolds movie, that's for sure.
Well, unless it was Green Lantern. But I don't know why everybody bags on the movie. It wasn't good, but I don't know that it was that bad. Maybe it was.
It was bad.
He's the DC guy, so he would know more than I would. So to talk a little bit about the plot, again, with not giving too much away, he's an NPC, and in his world, it's very by the books. He wakes up every day and he does the exact same thing because that's what he's programmed to do, albeit he doesn't know that. But if you take a step back and really look at the movie, it's kind of haunting in a way for how a lot of people live their life. The way it sort of speaks to just that 9-to-5 mundane routine people can find themselves in, and seeing that reflected in the character in this movie, I thought was really cool.
It spoke to me a little bit because I do work that 9-to-5 kind of job, although in my case it's more 10-to-8, but that's neither here nor there.
But it's true, right? Because so many people live that life, they don't get to experience it. That watching the movie, I mean, especially watching the movie with you, it's hard to disconnect from what I'm doing with the van, what you want to do with your van. That's why, because we constantly feel like hamsters on the proverbial wheel sort of thing.
Yeah, definitely.
And so true to form in this movie, once his character, whose name is Guy, once he realizes what is actually around him and how much better his life could be if he went outside his comfort zone, that's where the meat and the heart of this movie really is. And of course, there's the whole side story, which I wasn't even aware of. I thought the trailers did a great job of sort of keeping that under wraps. Because if you've seen the trailer, you know that ultimately he meets up with a female character who is an avatar of a person playing the game. Yeah. What that actually leads into, the story that person playing that character is actually involved in, I didn't see coming, and I thought that gave the movie, it grounded it in reality in a really interesting way that, again, I didn't see coming, and I quite enjoyed.
You also see a lot of the different comparisons when you go from the game world to the real world. And you can also say it's reflected in when he puts on those glasses.
Yeah, so that's what kind of unlocks it for me. He puts the glasses on, and that's what allows him to see what the gamers see, which was a cool, unique way of doing it. And of course, the mystery in the movie is why is he like this? Because if all of his friends in the world are NPCs as well, they're all programmed, so they shouldn't be aware. So a big question is why? Why has Guy become aware? And that's what really ties itself to the overarching story that's going on. And again, this movie just had more going on for it than I expected, and I really enjoyed that. It's a great movie that I think you probably should see if you like Ryan Reynolds and you just like comedy. And if you're a gamer, you're really gonna like it.
Yeah, I mean, for all the fans out there who have been saying, give me a Grand Theft Auto movie, well, this is what it should be if it was ever to happen.
Well, that's, I guess. Yeah, I guess you could, people are probably asking for a Grand Theft Auto movie set in that world, but this is a great way of sort of putting under the microscope all of those characters that you have inevitably destroyed over the years of playing those games. He does it. I've done it. Lots of people have done it. They're popular games for a reason. You wouldn't think that on paper, a movie about an NPC would make you care about them in that way. Yeah, you're going to care about his character because it's Ryan Reynolds and he's got charisma out the wazoo.
Out the wazoo.
But it goes beyond that and really kind of makes you think, hey, maybe I shouldn't be so mean to NPCs when I play games. And you're not alone if you think that. It actually is reflected in the movie because there was a parade of streamers that make cameo appearances in the movie as well. So to move on to things that we like, didn't like, I think we should start with the things that we didn't like because there weren't a lot.
Not a lot, no.
I'll let you go. Do you have anything that you want to talk about that you didn't like about the movie?
Well, really, I felt that Taika Waititi...
I knew you were going to steal mine.
Making a good effort for sure directing.
He didn't direct it.
He didn't direct it?
No, remember it was Sean Levy.
Right, Sean Levy. All right, well, maybe it could have been a different world if he had directed it, but he was very... Hey, look, pulp culture. And then he shoves it down your throat.
Only thing I didn't like, sorry to bag on Taika Waititi, his performance was meh. It almost felt forced. I might have been the only one that felt that way, but for a lot of it, it felt forced to me. Okay, so now we'll talk about things that we actually really enjoyed, and I mean, I'm just going to start boasting about the whole movie, so if you've got specifics you'd like to mention, by all means, go ahead.
No, nothing really specific, because everything stood out.
If everything stands out, then nothing's special.
Escapism, for me, that's what movies are. For me, oh man, it was really one of those things where you appreciate what is out there. I was doing weird gestures earlier as to, I'm out here now, this is normally wouldn't be my comfort zone, and I'm trying to change that.
Yeah.
And from my last trip off grid, there's no anxiety this time, so.
Nice.
Really, it was that. I mean, taken out of your comfort zone for a movie. If you were to see this in the real world, it wouldn't make any sense.
This movie, for me, was awesome. Like, there's no other real way to say it. It is, like Chris said, it was a great slice of escapism, which we all sort of need these days.
For sure.
And Ryan Reynolds, he's at the top of his game. If you know his humor, you know exactly what you're in for. He's just a funny guy, so we wear that like a badge of honor here in Canada. And the movie touches on so many different things. It touches on, like I said, the 9-to-5 grind and not living your life to the fullest. It also has an insane amount of heart, and I, well, have issues with that personally in my life right now. I'm not so ignorant to think that, or not think that it's a good plot point for a movie. So it was nice to see that happening in the real world story. And the action was very well done. I mean, this is an action adventure movie. And like we said, it was directed by Sean, I think it's Levy.
Sean Levy, yeah.
Okay, Chris had to remind me that he's the guy that directed like The Night at the Museum. Did you both of them?
I think all three.
There's 3 Night at the Museum movies.
There's
well,
3,
I'll just
yeah.
hand in my movie buff badge now. There are people that'll probably brag on this movie about it abusing other properties and trying to market to you. And I saw a lot of that when it came to people talking about Space Jam: A New Legacy, whereas in that movie, Warner Brothers really leaned into their properties and it became an integral part of the story. And a lot of people really felt like that was a cheesy way to use their properties. And I can see that happening here because I'm not going to spoil it because, again, I didn't see it coming and I don't think you did either. But there's certain stuff during the climax of the movie that they kind of go all in with certain things. And as a fan of movies, you just kind of enjoy it.
Exactly.
And in terms of speaking to the gaming culture, it's a very relatable story in terms of like there's a new game about to launch and it's going to be a patch or it's going to be a whole new game, and how that's going to impact Guy's world was a really cool way of, again, making you care about a character that I honestly think I didn't have any business caring about. So I applaud the filmmakers for making me feel that way. For sure.
In a way, I almost liken Guy to Link from Legend of Zelda because he's your connection. He's your link to the rest of the world.
That's actually an interesting way of putting that. I didn't think about that. But yeah, like the great thing about Link in those games is that he's silent, so you can kind of project yourself into him. Mm-hmm. And Ryan Reynolds is anything but silent in any movie, but it still makes sense with what Chris said. He is kind of you in this movie, especially if you feel like you are trapped in that sort of mundane cycle. I think in a weird way, this is a movie that on one hand, it had no business being as good as it was. I think on paper, when you would have seen like the plot outline, it probably would have been like, yeah, no kidding. We're trying to be topical. We're trying to cash in on the gaming culture craze. I don't really even like calling it a craze because it's a viable thing that's happening in our lives. But it took everybody involved from, I don't know the main actress's name. I am so sorry. But between Ryan and Taika and Sean, they brought to life a story that I never would have thought would have been as good as I think it is. It's a perfect summer blockbuster. It's a perfect escapism movie, and it's highly, highly entertaining.
Oh yeah, like I would go and see it again right now.
That sounds like an exaggeration, but he's spot on. I probably would go see it right now again myself. That's just how entertaining it was. It's just a good time at the movies. Don't wait. Go see it now. I was very hesitant on how I was going to rate it. And I don't know if you're going to slap a rating on it or not, if you just want to let me do it. You're totally welcome to. But I definitely went back and forth, and Taika's performance was almost enough. I'd been like, no, I don't think so. But the movie surprised me. It was entertaining. If that was the only knock I can give it, and I'm raving about everything else, I got to do it, guys. I got to give Free Guy a 10 out of 10.
I concur with that. I mean, Taika's performance left something to be desired, but it didn't take away from the overall experience of the film.
Not at all. So it is a very entertaining movie. It pops. It makes you feel good. That kind of makes it sound like drugs. Which, if you're into, the sponsor of today's video is Vannabis, Van Life plus Cannabis. So how about you? Have you guys had a chance to see Free Guy yet? If you have, let me know what you thought about it in the comments below, and I will see you all in the next one.
Well, I mean, imagine you take a little bit of all the fucking bugs around it.